The most dangerous man in your life is not your enemy. It's the man who smiles when you succeed and means nothing by it. Marcus Aurelius ruled the greatest empire on earth. He commanded legions, he outlasted plagues, and yet, the thing that nearly broke him? The men he trusted most. This video is about what he figured out, and what most men figure out too late. If this channel has ever given you something your friends never did, an honest idea, a hard truth, hit subscribe. That's why we're here. Let's get into it. In Meditations, Marcus writes something that most people scroll past. He says, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." Most people read that and think it's pessimism. It's not. It's preparation. Marcus wasn't being cynical. He was being surgical. He was training himself to see people clearly before emotion clouded his judgment. Because here's what the Stoics understood that most men don't. You don't get betrayed by strangers. You get betrayed by your assumptions. The fake friend doesn't sneak up on you. You built a story about him, and he just lived in it. Epictetus, who spent years as a literal slave, identified 3 types of people you'll encounter in your life. He called them the good, the indifferent, and the vicious. Not your friend, your acquaintance, and your enemy. 3 categories built on a single question: what do they pursue? The good man pursues virtue. He wants to be better. He cares about truth more than comfort. These men are rare, and when you find one, you protect that relationship like it's sacred, because it is. The indifferent man pursues pleasure, status, money, not evil, just hollow. He'll be your friend when things are good, and he'll drift when they're not. There's no malice, just emptiness where loyalty should be. The vicious man pursues power at any cost. He studies you not to know you, but to use you. He celebrates your victories publicly and buries your confidence privately. He is rare, but he is real, and Marcus knew several of them personally. Here's what most men get wrong about all 3. They spend their energy trying to expose fake friends, testing them, watching for the betrayal, living in suspicion. Marcus took a different path. He wrote, "The first rule is to keep an untroubled spirit. The second is to look things in the face and know them for what they are. Untroubled spirit first, clarity second. Not paranoia, not obsession, just calm, accurate sight." Let me tell you about a man named Avidius Cassius. Cassius was one of Rome's greatest generals. Brilliant, decorated, loyal, or so it appeared. Marcus trusted him enough to give him command of the eastern provinces. He defended Rome. He won wars. He stood beside the emperor. Then, in 175 AD, a rumor spread that Marcus was dead. Cassius declared himself emperor within the week. He didn't wait to confirm the rumor. He didn't grieve. He seized. Marcus was alive, and when he heard, you know what he did? He didn't rage. He didn't immediately march with his armies to crush Cassius. He wrote. He processed it in Meditations. He asked himself whether he had given Cassius reason to believe he was weak, whether his own performance as emperor had invited this challenge. He turned the blade inward before pointing it outward. Cassius was eventually killed by his own men before Marcus could reach him. And Marcus, the man whose throne was just stolen, reportedly grieved that he couldn't personally pardon him and spare his life. That's not weakness. That's the most terrifying kind of strength, the kind that doesn't need revenge to feel whole. But here's the part of the story that never gets told. Marcus spent years in proximity to Cassius. He saw the ambition. He likely sensed the hunger beneath the loyalty, and he kept the man close anyway, not because he was naive, but because he made a deliberate Stoic calculation. What Cassius could give Rome was worth the risk. And when the risk materialized, Marcus was ready. He wasn't blindsided, he was tested, and he passed. So how do you actually use this? Here are 4 filters Marcus would recognize. 1. Watch how they talk about others. A man who gossips to you will gossip about you. There are no exceptions. If he brings you stories from other people's lives delivered with just enough contempt, he's showing you his character, not theirs. 2. Watch what happens when you win. Fake friends can handle your failure. It confirms the story they need. What they cannot handle, what exposes them is your success. Watch closely. not for congratulations, for the silence that follows, the subtle reframing, the quiet, yeah, but. The man who celebrates you in front of others, but undermines you in private, that's your Cassius. 3. Track consistency under pressure. Anyone can be loyal in comfort. Loyalty in adversity, when standing beside you risks something for him, that is the only loyalty worth counting. 4. Observe what they pursue when no one is watching. Who is a man when there's nothing to gain? When the cameras are off, the deal is done, the night is over. What does he reach for? What does he talk about? A man's idle moments are his autobiography. Now, before you go auditing every friendship you have, I need to say this clearly. The Stoics were not advocating isolation. Marcus surrounded himself with philosophers, generals, doctors, advisors. He was not a lone wolf. He was a highly selective, fully committed man in relationship. The goal is not fewer people in your life. The goal is more honest ones. And the brutal truth, that starts with you. Are you the kind of man that someone with standards would want beside them? Are you pursuing virtue or just comfort? Are you celebrating the wins of your friends or quietly scorekeeping? Clean your own lens before you judge someone else's loyalty. Marcus Aurelius died in 180 AD, alone on a military campaign, far from Rome, not surrounded by the court that flattered him, not with the men who called him divine. Just his own thoughts, the same ones he'd been writing down for years. Meditations was never meant to be published. It was never meant for us. It was a private conversation between a man and his own conscience, a daily practice of holding himself to a standard higher than the world around him demanded. He wrote about fake loyalty, about men who wear the mask, about the exhausting performance of Roman politics. And he wrote it not with bitterness, but with a kind of quiet, devastating clarity. If you take one thing from this video, take this: you cannot control who is false. You can only control whether falsehood can find a place in you. Build yourself into the kind of man that fake people cannot afford to be around. Not because you're suspicious, not because you're cold, but because your standards, your character, make it too uncomfortable for them to stay. That's the Stoic answer. That's what Marcus was building every single day in those private pages. If this hit, share it with one man who needs to hear it. Drop in the comments: has a fake friend ever taught you something real? I want to know. I'll see you in the next one.